We're in Paris for Paris Blockchain Week, and I'm gathered with Kevin from Keyrock. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Mia.
How is this week going for you here at Paris Blockchain Week?
Going very well. Very busy week. It's always fun to be in Paris. Weather is awesome. Everybody does, and anybody is here that's in crypto is in Paris. So it's great.
How is the market doing now, like as we entered 2024?
Start of the year has been amazing. Honestly, I've been in crypto full time for almost 7 years, and still the market managed to surprise me. I think it came back a lot faster than I imagined last year. So it's been a fantastic first quarter, definitely.
Mm-hmm. How did you get into crypto? Tell us the story.
Sure. So I'm from Brussels. I was working in management consulting way back when. I have a background in engineering and finance for my studies, and in 2014 actually I started to get into Bitcoin and blockchain. So I started to get into it more and more, and came 2017. It was a big boom of the ICOs back then, and basically what I was trying to understand with my co-founders I met at that time in 2017 was why were ICOs so popular, basically, because an ICO in 2017 it was basically a Kickstarter campaign, right, kind of a crowdfunding, but it picked up a lot faster than crowdfunding ever did. And so we're trying to realize why, and what we saw is that with an ICO you have a digitized Kickstarter, so you have a digitized crowdfunding coupon, and the fact that it's digitized, you can exchange it, you can send it around, you can trade it. That made it potentially a lot more liquid and therefore a lot more interesting. At the same time, we saw that the market was very fragmented. It's a decentralized technology, you have very low barriers to entry, so the market was very fragmented. And so we saw basically liquidity of those assets being both the main advantage of an asset being fully digital, but also being a very big problem on the market. It's kind of really putting the two together that led me and my co-founders to launch Keyrock in the end of 2017. Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
We met at an event, actually, a very small crypto-focused event in Belgium. Actually, not even in Belgium, it was like 35 minutes away from Belgium. Wow. So I think it was just, it was called Fin and Tonic. So basically they were mixing, fintech-related events with a nice gin and tonic bar, and that's where we met. So yeah. I guess it was really meant to be, because it was a super random event.
Yeah, they were mixing Fin and Tonic, and you guys were coming together.
Exactly.
That's perfect. What do you focus on within the company, just for context?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of the company, so I focus on coordinating the whole thing, basically making sure that we have a clear objective, clear direction for the short term, the mid term, the long term as well, and make sure that Kyrock as a machine, so to speak, with all the different components of the firm, work as efficiently as possible. And then I do quite a bit of, I guess, external representation as well. Mm-hmm. So working with our clients, our partners, investors, and kind of making sure that we reach the ambitions that we set ourselves. Yeah. So
back then, when you decided to start Keyrock, how did you decide which market you'd focus on, and what was your strategy? Because back then, crypto wasn't as popular as it is now. No, indeed. It wasn't really a matter of focusing on specific markets. What mattered to most to us, and actually still does now, is to understand what actually made sense in what we were doing, right? So digital assets, why are they interesting? And so what the thesis that we built is digital assets are interesting because it creates optionality. Like the reality of exchanging value today, exchanging financial value, for example, is that you are stuck in a very centralized system where you depend of trusted third parties, which can be fine as long as you trust them. But the day you don't anymore, for either because that third party cannot be trusted anymore, or because the general context around you changed, like take an example of Greece and the capital controls they had all of a sudden a few years back. The moment that you cannot trust those third parties anymore, you're stuck in a very centralized system and you're running out of options. Why we believe it's super interesting to build digital assets is that gives you an option. You can do centralized, you can do decentralized, you can decide depending on your circumstances, depending on what matters the most to you, whether which system and how you're going to be exchanging value, right? And so this is very much the north star that we use when deciding what to work on. Is okay, having digital assets makes sense, representing value digitally makes sense because of the optionality it gives you. All assets will eventually be digital. What is a project that we should be focusing on that gets us closer to that goal? And that's really kind of what we use as a benchmark, as a filter, deciding which markets we're going to work on. So the focus for us is honestly not so much, which market is going to be the most successful in the next quarter, in the next month, in the next 6 months. It's more what makes sense for the next 10 years when we look at the vision of all assets eventually being digital. And that's really kind of the mantra that we use and the timeline that we look on when we decide on where to put our focus, where to put our resources.
And how would you describe the current position in the timeline?
I think we're still very early, honestly, because I see a lot of completely irrelevant things still having a lot of attention, which tells me that there's still a lot to build to get to the core nature of what makes sense for digital assets. I think that if you take a very easy example like meme coins that are all the rage now, I think meme coins are fun, right? And it's great that they exist, and it's great that people are having fun with it. Why not? It's a free market, but when something like meme coins are front and center and actually one of the main topics, it tells you that there's a lot of other topics that we should be working on more, because there is a lot more utility to this technology than just meme coins, which gambling is cool, lots of people love it, so it's great that it's there, but I don't think that should be front and center of digital assets. So I think we're still very early in that cycle. I mean, in the overall development of the tech, compared to 2017 when I started to be involved 100% and launch Kyrock, I think we've come a long way, right? In usability, in actual use cases, both for centralized digital finance, decentralized digital finance. We're seeing now a lot more regulatory clarity in many jurisdictions, a lot of institutional players being involved more and more, and kind of the ETFs in the US recently were like the latest big example. But yeah, when I look at the end goal of all assets being digital, value being fully exchanged digitally with the option to do it centrally or decentrally, I think we're still very early compared to that goal, basically.
What do you think will be like some of the biggest trends in this cycle for digital assets specifically?
I mean, I don't know, and to be honest, I don't really care, because which I don't optimize for on a cycle basis. I'm seeing now the things that are getting attention, right? So everything that is around deepin, around AI, of course, everybody has to put AI somewhere. So currently the hype is on meme coins, but I don't think it's a very strong narrative for a cycle. I think that what matters the most to me is everything around RWAs, so real world assets, because at the end, I think that's the end goal, is representing real value on chain, right? And that goes through real world assets, and I think that's what I'm the most excited about. And so we've seen very boring stuff, like T-bills on chain. That's not the most exciting T-bills, but yes, it makes sense. There's a lot of volume there, a lot of interest. So this is starting. We're seeing a lot around climate finance as well, which I believe is super interesting. So like all the use cases where you can bring more transparency, when you can bring more traceability, when you can bring more decentralization to fix a market that is currently not working well, that's everything that I'm excited about, basically. And whether that's going to be in this cycle or not, I don't know. We'll see, right? But I'm quite optimistic on the fact that RWAs, we are finally getting there, basically, because security tokens, I remember those were the topics of Consensus 2017, right, where I was there already and everybody was talking about security tokens. But now finally, after 6 years of kind of getting the pipes in place, having more regulatory clarity again, we're getting to the stage where the pieces are falling together and we're starting to see more actual use case of those RWAs, and that's something I'm quite excited about. So it's why, like Keyrock, we joined the real world asset coalition last year to push that agenda forward and make sure that we continue to build infrastructure that would allow us to go towards that vision of all assets being digital.
Has regulation in a weird way made things easier for you, because obviously like clients would have more trust?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been pro regulation from the very beginning. I think it's great. It's I don't think that digital assets are interesting because they provide a regulatory arbitrage. I think they are interesting because they inherently add value to the life of people that want to exchange value. And if we can do that in a framework where there is regulation, which means there is protection to users that might not be as tech or financially savvy as the people actually building the product, I think that's awesome. So we've definitely always been very pro-regulation. What matters the most in regards to regulation is that it's clear and that it's stable. so that if you play a game and there are rules, you want to make sure the rules don't change every 6 months, and you want to make sure you know what the rules are. But definitely, when you look at the longer term purpose of mass adoption of digital assets, more regulation is good, because it gives more protection to users, so therefore it makes it easier for more users to onboard and to trust what they are interacting with, and overall serve the purpose. So as long as it's sensible enough to not completely stifle innovation, right? I think it's positive, definitely.
As regulation becomes more clear, does that make you focus on different markets and shift the attention, or it has no impact?
I think that we drive our focus based on, again, where we believe the concept of digital asset add the more value, and then we see the regulatory reality as a constraint that we need to deal with and make sure that we embrace and we respect and move forward based on that. But that's not what drives our decision making, basically. It's just something that a reality of the market that is there for a good reason, that we embrace, that we promote, and so we just make sure that we deal with it as we continue to build our products and services.
And again, for context, for anyone watching that is not so familiar with this, how does Keyrock compare to other companies that might offer the same or like similar offers?
Sure. So we're a market maker, right? So initially we started actually as a market maker. So we provide liquidity on markets. So that means that we make it easy for anybody to buy and sell digital assets, and to do it as fast as possible at the lowest possible cost. So when you go on an exchange, you want to buy something, we are going to be there to sell it. You want to sell something, we are going to be there to buy it. That's what market making is, right? We provide liquidity to the market. How we differentiate ourselves from others, I think that we started from the beginning building a client franchise. So we started as a service provider. We're not just a prop shop trying to maximize our own profit while also having some client relationship on the side. We start with the client, building long-term partnership with them. Our purpose is to make their market a success, which means have a market that is stable with a tight spread, so it's easy for people to trade, and as liquid as possible, right? We believe that if we can provide that as a market maker, we're basically setting the scenes for that market to be successful, as the company builds use cases and attracts users because they add value to them. And so this focus on the clients and in working very closely with them to support their market and make an ecosystem that is actually healthier for all participants is clearly a differentiator.
And as technology evolves and so quickly in crypto, has it enabled something in the recent months that wasn't possible before? Or that was more that made it more cost efficient, perhaps?
I mean, I think it's continuous improvement, right? If you take even some very basic things, but we trade a lot on stable coins, for example. This may seem very basic, but the ability, the speed at which we can send capital around and doing it 24/7 at very low cost, very fast, is something that is a tremendous difference in our operation. So it's not something that happened in recent months, right? It's been there for years, but that's where we see kind of those innovations actually having an impact on what we do. And then we do a lot as well, in decentralized marketplaces, on DEX, directly trading on chain. We do a lot of that, and there as well, like there are things that we can do, like doing self-custody or different type of custody agreements that were simply not possible before, which decreases our counterparty risk, for example, versus centralized exchange. So all of these are kind of, innovations linked to this market that allow to do things differently and more efficiently.
And what do you think is next for the space? And digital assets,
Yeah, I think, again, like everything I see around real world assets, tokenization, and, I look at crypto as a proof of concept. Like crypto as it is now for the last, X years, it's a proof of concept. Digital assets allow you to digitally represent value.
Yeah.
Crypto is the first type of value that was digitally represented. It's like showing, hey guys, look what we can do here. You can have digital gold, that's Bitcoin. You can have digital money, all the stable coins. You can have digital, governance with all the utility tokens. You can have digital meme coins. You can have digital PFP, whatever. Like those are all different types of values that are digitally represented, right? And we're seeing all that can be built on top of that, all the composability, all the new innovation that comes around this. But I believe it's just going to continue to get wider and wider, and more types of value are going to be digitally represented as we continue to build. And RWA is exactly going in that direction, right?
Mm-hmm. Do you think it will fully replace traditional finance at some point?
So I think it will definitely fully replace the current financial market. I don't think that everything will be eventually decentralized. I don't see this as a logic of replacement. I see it as a logic of complementarity. Mm-hmm. There's lots of things that I'm happy to do centralized. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to keep all my net worth on a ledger under my mattress. Never. I'm happy to pay some fees to a bank or a custodian because they provide me a service, they provide me interest, they provide me something that makes sense. But for some other stuff, I think it's great to have a decentralized option. So the way I look at this is, yes, all assets would be digital, which means that the current system is going to be completely replaced by assets that are issued on a decentralized technology. That is going to happen for sure. Mm-hmm. Based on that, is everything going to be decentralized? No, I don't think so. For certain things, it's great to keep it centralized. For others, it's great to have it decentralized. The logic of centralization versus decentralization is a means to an end. Mm. It's just a tool that serves a purpose. And for certain things, it's better to be able to do things fully decentralized. For others, it's better to do it centralized. It's just that thanks to digital assets, what I'm excited about is that we will have a choice. Mm-hmm. And today we don't. If your bank is closed, you want your money, well, sucks to be you. If you have a decentralized option, you have a way around that. And so you have options. And that's what I'm quite excited about.
Mm-hmm. For everyone watching, how can they read more about Keyrock?
So to read more about Kyrock, best is to check our website or Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm sure you can post all the details on those in the post as well. But I think that following us on Twitter and our blog, mm-hmm. where we continuously communicate about our most exciting projects and new things that we're doing, is the best way to follow what we're doing.
And are you also present on the socials?
Sorry, yeah, I'm present as well.
Yeah. So what's your Twitter?
So it's @Patoul. Mm-hmm. I'm there quite active, trying to keep up with crypto Twitter.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you very much.